You're on.
And I reload.
Got it stuck under there.
I'm not popping up. Okay. Mm. Oh, there I am. Okay. Every week it keeps locking up on me. Yeah, it's locked up again. Yeah. Every week this happens. Now it's broke free.
Or your video just like froze?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got sound. Okay. Minor glitch.
Nothing, Steelers. Tom Brady.
Hey. I'm just glad they finally beat Tom Brady once. Doesn't happen very often. Not that it makes any difference. The whole season's about shot anyway already. For all of us. None of it looks good for the Browns or the Steelers. Or Rick's Lions either. I don't know how the Lions are doing. I don't follow anybody other than the two teams I care about. The one I like and the one I want to beat every year. So we'll give a minute or two for people to join us. Yeah, I was out last night. I didn't see nothing last night. So I gotta show you. I gotta show you all this. I've been watching. So 2 years ago, he had a rack. He's about that big, just a little 8-point. First year, he had just a little 8-point rack. It was impressive for a first-year deer. And last year, he was, 14, 15 inches maybe, and just a nice basket rack 8. And never got an opportunity at him last year. I don't know if I would have. I may have. I don't know. But he finally showed up last night. And I'm tell you what, he is a little tank. That is one of the fattest deer I have ever seen. He is well fed, and he's got a heck of a nice rack. I get an opportunity at that guy this year, I'm taking it. He's 3.5 years old, and if he makes the wrong move, I'm gonna make the right move. Hopefully one of us gets him. There's 3 of us that hunt out there, besides the Amish that hunt behind us, so he may not make it through this year. So, yeah, I've been out half a dozen times, and I don't know, last night was the first night I didn't see deer. I've seen deer every night except for last night, and been watching a couple little fawns and saw a couple nicer does, and got one little spike buck that keeps coming out, and because he's too dumb to know any better. But he's safe, at least from me. I don't want him. So now, especially now that I've seen that, that's the one I want. So yeah, and the rut's coming, so we got a couple weeks till things start to really kick off here. Usually Halloween for us here in Ohio is the kind of traditional kickoff time for when the activity really starts to boil. And I'm off not that week, but the week after. I'm taking the week off and hitting the woods. My November's a little scant for me. I'm off the first full week and the last half a week, whatever, there for gun season. So I got 2 weeks of vacation I've been saving all year just for this. I had nothing but hunting and fishing vacations this year. My first vacation was a week of fishing, and my last 2 weeks are going to be hunting. So the wife went and spent 2 weeks in Myrtle Beach. So I didn't go with her because I wanted to go hunting. And I talked to my outfitter today, and I'm going to send in my deposit for my Wyoming antelope hunt next October. All I got to do is I'm all booked. All I got to do is send them the deposit. And October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of next year, I will be in Wyoming hunting antelope. I'm not 100% sure yet what gun I'm going to take. I'm torn. So I have a Savage Model 99 in 243 Winchester that was my dad's, and that gun is older than me. He bought that gun in 1964, and when my dad passed, it was one of the few guns that when we were going through all the guns and the different cousins and nephews and everybody were like, "Oh, I'd like to have that. I'd like to have it," because my dad he had a mess of guns. He had a couple safes full of guns, and we were kind of passing them out and giving everybody in the family the opportunity. I certainly I would have liked to have had them all, but I just didn't have room for all of them. So, but that was the one that I was like, that one's mine. I don't care pretty much about any of the rest of them. I got a 22 and I got that one, and I said that one I want because one, it was his favorite gun that he used a lot, and it was also the gun that I killed my first 8-point buck with. I had gotten a few smaller bucks before that, but when I finally tagged an 8-point, it was with that gun. And in 1971, he went out to Wyoming and hunted antelope with that gun, and he killed an antelope with it in 1971. So I'm torn. I want to take my AR and hunt with my AR, but I want to take Dad's gun and 52 years later take another antelope with it, which I think would be kind of cool. So I'm kind of torn, but the old 243 just might win out, just on tradition. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm super jazzed about that. First time I've ever gone. Well, I can't. I went out to Texas pig hunting a couple times, but this is the first time I've ever gone out of Ohio or Pennsylvania big game hunting. I've never big game hunted anywhere except those two states. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, take both. Yeah. It's hard to carry two guns around out there roaming the prairies. So, and yeah. Well, my buddy Jeremiah is going with me. I don't know if you all remember Jeremiah. He was in here about a year ago, did the reloading show with us. He talked about reloading. He's a big reloader, and he reloads just about everything for anything for himself. And him and I are going. He's gonna be. It's a 2-to-1 guided hunt. So one guide takes out two hunters. And we got 3 days, and they claim 100% opportunity at this ranch. He says, if you could, we'll put you on them. It's up to you to get it from there, get it done from there. So I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah. I don't know if we'll have signal up there in the extreme northwest Wyoming, almost into. We're just real close to Montana there. I don't know if I'll have signal to do any live video, but I'll certainly take some video to play back later. So, yeah, we're talking hunting, and we've been talking the last couple of weeks about choosing a caliber, choosing a setup, knowing the laws for hunting with your AR, all the different stuff. And you've heard us mention a couple times about hunting when choosing a caliber. The 308 or the AR-10 platform. So this is my 308 AR-10, and it's not as it's not as cut and dry as you think. As once you've got all the parts and you've got everything you need, most of the tools are exactly the same. And the assembly process is almost exactly the same as an AR-15. But the AR-10 platform is not standardized like the AR-15 platform is, where I can, I can have 3 or 4 different guns here, and I can take this part off of this one and put it on that one, and I can mix and interchange. And I don't like this bolt catch, I want to put this bolt catch on that one, and I don't like that magazine catch, and I want to blah 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 blah. I can do all that kind of stuff with AR-15 because pretty much, unless somebody's done something super proprietary, which does happen on occasion, but for the most part, AR-15 parts are completely interchangeable. And that's not necessarily so with an AR-10. So if you're looking at building an AR-10 for a hunting rifle, there's some things you have to know. So what parts are and aren't compatible, and some of the different nuances that come with parts. So the biggest thing is you'll hear guys talk about in the AR-10 platform is there's the Armalite pattern, which was the original AR-10, and then you have the DPMS pattern. And now you also have DPMS Gen 1 and Gen 2. And then you have the DPMS high profile and low profile. So you got 4 things going on there with the DPMS pattern. The Armalite pattern is the Armalite pattern. And you'll know the Armalite pattern by the upper and lower. You can see, in a typical, here, I'll show you on this, right? Just like the AR-15, the AR-10 has this rounded, right? On the Armalite pattern, it's squared off. So it comes down at a 45-degree angle and heads out again. So there's straight lines. There isn't a radial arc to this back piece here. And if you have an AR-10 Armalite lower, you have to have an AR-10 Armalite upper. And then there's a couple of other little things that are specific to that Armalite pattern. It's not super prevalent anymore in the industry. AR-10 Armalite doesn't sell a lot of just parts to build your own stuff now. They pretty much, they build rifles and sell rifles. And I don't know how much they really do in the AR world anymore. They bought a couple different companies. They bought Surgeon Rifles and Macmillan, and I forget, the guy that bought Armalite bought like 5 or 6 different companies. And I think they're a little centered more on that different stuff and have gotten big out of the AR world because of how flooded the market is with manufacturers. So most of what you're going to find is DPMS style, and you're going to have the Gen 1 and Gen 2 lowers, and they're going to have the rounded, okay? So you want to make sure that you get a upper and lower that are compatible with each other. And we'll talk more about kits here in a minute. The other thing is that you have what they call DPMS high and DPMS low profile. So this is a DPMS high, and this is a DPMS, wait, wrong one. Yeah, this is the DPMS low. And what you end up with is you can see just a slightest of height difference between the two. It's hard to see on camera. Not enough to catch it on camera. But there is, what it is there is from the center line of the bore, which would be the center line of the rifle or the bore of the rifle, to the top of the Picatinny rail on a low profile is 1 inch 260. On a high profile, from the center line of the bore or center line of the bore of the rifle to the top of the Picatinny is 1 inch 318. So that's 58 thousandths, which is just a hair shy of a 16th, which isn't a lot. But when it comes to, you'll see the difference here. I'll show you. This might make it a little more evident on camera. So we're going to start with the high profile DPMS. And a high profile handguard. Okay. So you slide that on, and you can see that, right? It's nice. It's flush. There's a seamless interaction between the two. Okay? Take that same setup and put the low profile handguard on it. And now you can see that 1/16 of an inch variation becomes pretty evident. So you think a 1/16 of an inch is not a big deal, and it's probably not, but especially if you're using a scope, it's really not a big deal. If you're using iron sights, it can become a big deal. So because the front sight now sits a 1/16 of an inch lower than where it would on a match set that belong with each other, you're going to lose on a, what is the front sight post? That's a 36 pitch thread. So it's 28 thousandths. So you're losing 2 to 3 turns of adjustability. You're already 2 to 3 turns down below where you would want to be. You need to raise that sight up 2 or 3 turns right off the bat. And if you need to raise up higher than that, to bring your gun in, then you could run out of adjustability if these parts aren't matched with each other. And just the opposite is true when you put a high profile, you put it on a high profile and you use a low profile handguard, it sits a 1/16 of an inch higher. Now you have to push your post down and you could run out of adjustability. So you want to make sure that you know when you're buying an upper if it is high profile or low profile, and you buy the handguard to match accordingly. And that's where buying kits kind of comes in handy, because is that my upper receiver? Oh no, we don't make an AR-10 upper receiver, at least not yet. Don't know that we haven't really thought about. We've gotten asked once or twice about it. In fact, Armalite asked us about it, and we have not breached that market yet. We make an AR-15 billet upper receiver. That's not ours. The AR-10 is a much smaller market, obviously, than the AR-15, and we have not. We make some parts for AR-10 muzzle devices and some different stuff. But they're also semi-universal with some of the AR-15 platforms. Like you can use an AR, you can use a muzzle device that goes on a, say, 300 Blackout. Well, is the same muzzle device you put on a 308. So, there's some stuff that's interchangeable between the two, and that we'll talk about interchangeability here in a second as well. So that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you get the upper and lower that match each other. And then once you've got an upper, making sure that the upper matches the handguard that you buy. Yeah. Russ ordered a handguard from us and ordered the wrong one. And, we're easy going. We want our customers to be happy. And, he texted me and sent me a message, said he ordered the wrong handguard. We sent him back. We sent him a label. He sent the other one back to us. We sent him the right one. No harm, no foul, right? Easy swap. As long as the part comes back in good shape and it's sellable, it's not damaged, and it's still, we can put it right back on the shelf and sell it to somebody else. Not a big deal to swap out a part if you make a mistake. We had a guy early on text us. I forget. That guy down in Georgia, and he was madder than all get out, because our handguard was 60 thousandths off, and how could we sell stuff like this, and he did the same thing. He didn't know that there was a high profile and a low profile, and when we explained to him what he had, and we got him the part that he needed and sent the part back, and he was, we were the greatest thing since sliced white bread then, because we fixed his mistake. And in fact, he sent me a picture a few weeks later. Not long after that, he had shot a pig with that rifle down there in Georgia. So it all works out good. We're all about the customer service. If it's not right, we'll make it right. We'll make it right, whether it's our fault or yours. So now, as far as parts compatibility, like all the different stuff, right? There's a whole list, and I got this list, and it's a pretty comprehensive list off of Wing Tactical. I went to wingtactical.com, and they have this nice checklist that you can download, print off, and tells you exactly what's compatible between the AR-15 and the AR-10. Now, obviously, we talked about upper and lower receivers not being compatible just because it's a longer, the bolt carrier group, that kind of stuff, right, is all very specific. In fact, uh, so like your upper receiver, your charging handle, and your ejection port assemblies are not compatible between AR-15 and AR-10. The barrel nut, and the handguard are not compatible. The muzzle devices are not compatible, except that some of the say 5/8 thread pattern muzzle devices that are designed for 300 blackout and those type of things can be interchangeable with a 308. Uh, Bolt assembly, bolt carriers, obviously not compatible. Your trigger springs, trigger hammer, disconnect, all that kind of stuff, those are compatible. In the lower parts kit, your bolt catch is not compatible, and the bolt catch roll pin is not compatible. The magazines are obviously not compatible. The magazine catch can be compatible on a DPMS style, but not on an Armalite style. So see, this kind of gets all kind of, if you don't, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Pivot pins, takedown pins are not compatible. The buffer, so your buttstock, the buttstock tube is compatible, but the buffer and the spring inside are not, because the bolt carrier group is longer. It has a longer cycle because the bullet is longer. The buffer is going to be shorter, and the spring is typically going to be stiffer to accommodate the extra recoil of the larger round. So the internals of your buffer system are not compatible, but the externals are. The back plate, the castle nut, and the tube itself are compatible. Again, I know it starts to get confusing, right? Everything else is compatible from the AR-15. So, if you're trying to assemble or you're trying to gather parts and build from scratch, this checklist is a great thing to have. And yeah, some lowers require longer takedown pins too. You got to watch the takedown pins. They can be, and usually when you're buying a lower, they'll tell you if it takes a unique set of takedown pins, and the company that does that, if it's a billet lower, typically sells those takedown pins with them. But either way, the AR-15 takedown pins will not work in any AR-10. You got to have special pivot and takedown pins for the AR-10. So that brings us to kits, right? And that's what I did. I looked at all this stuff and I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I got to try to make sure I get everything just right. And I've heard a whole bunch of stories about people who tried doing it with donated mix of parts, trying to figure out what's what. I'm sure, right, Russ? Russ has built a few AR-10s out of donated parts, and you got to really know this stuff and make sure you get it. And then you got to order, okay, I need this spring because it's not compatible, or I need this pin because it's not compatible. And you got to go and find that pin. That brings us to kits. So that's what I did. When I built this rifle, I ordered a complete kit minus a lower from our friends at CBC Precision Firearms in Somerville. They're in Are they in Somerville? No, they're in Charleston, South Carolina. And I ordered the complete kit. This was pretty heavy in the COVID days, and I waited about, probably 3 months for the kit to come back in stock. Actually, the biggest thing that we were waiting on at that time was barrels, and it took about 3 months for my kit to come in stock, but they got it to me. And again, built it up just like I would an AR-15. They told me exactly what lower I needed to buy when I bought the kit. They said, it said right in it, you need DPMS Gen 1 lower. So I went online to Noreen Firearms, ordered a DPMS Gen 1 lower, and everything went together like butter. This thing assembled really nice, and this thing shot like a champ right out of the rip. We took it out to the range the first time. It's never jammed on me. Right? And knock on wood when I say that. This thing has never jammed on me, not once. It's been a great rifle. I like it, and It's a toss up when I go antelope hunting next year, right? I got three rifles in mind. It's either the 6.5 Grendel, it's this, or it's the 243, and yeah, I'm torn because I really it'd be cool to go out and get the footage for of hunting with the our ARs. I'm sure Jeremiah is going to take his AR, to get some footage and some video hunting with the ARs. But at the same time, I want to take Dad's rifle, so that's probably going to be one of them things I'll him and haw on over the next year, and who knows?
And then take your dad's back.
So, it's one of those things. Like I say all the time when I'm talking about building ARs, if you've never done it before, research. Right, doing your research. If you've decided you want to go the um, purely buying parts, then this checklist is almost a must-have. Making sure you're ordering the right stuff, making sure you're getting the right upper, the right lower, the right handguard, and dry fitting everything when you get it to make sure you don't want to be ready to assemble. I got the wrong handguard, or I got the wrong this, or I got the wrong that. Kind of dry fit stuff as it comes in and make sure you got the right stuff, and that way you can send it back if you need to and get the right stuff. The 308. So we talked about the different calibers, whether it be 6.5 Creedmoor, 308. In the AR-10 platform, both are great rifles for hunting. The one drawback that for me is, I've built a couple of hunting ARs, and I like a nice light rifle for hunting. I like something that I can just sling around my neck, carry in a 2-point sling. This tends to get a little heavy. This thing probably weighs, I don't know, somewhere, but I've never weighed it. If I had to guess, I'd say somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds. My 350 Legend, for example, weighs 6 point something pounds. So it's almost half of what this rifle is. Lugging this thing around, trying to crawl through sagebrush and through some valleys and washes and draws to sneak up on some antelope. What I'd probably do is tighten it down and sling it up over my back and go. But yeah, I'd take Dad's rifle for the sentimental value. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, to be honest with you. But sling this thing up over my back and do what I got to do. But just lugging this thing around all day, it would get heavy. This is a heavy gun. This is the type of gun that you set up in a blind, put it on a tripod, and and you reach out a long distance that way. If I were to take this, I'd probably put it on put a tripod or a bipod on here. That way, if I'm crawling, typically out in the plains out there, you're gonna crawl, get in position, and you're going to set up and shoot from that prone position. So having a bipod on there would almost be a must. Otherwise, you're trying to set up on rocks or take your jacket off and fold your jacket up, and you're trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get a good rest. So putting a bipod on here, that's what this little bottom Picatinny is actually for, is a bipod. It's these definitely have their place, right? If I'm going hunting elk or I'm going hunting moose, well, then it's the AR-10. There isn't really a caliber in the AR-15 that is going to do that job. It will. Don't get me wrong. I could kill a moose with a 223, but is he going to go down right away? No, he's not. You need a big bullet. You need a big expansion. You need a lot of energy to take down those big animals like elk and moose. So this is probably going to be the go-to gun if you're wanting to hunt with an AR and you're wanting to hunt those big game animals. You're going to sacrifice the fact that you're carrying a lot of extra weight to have the firepower that you need to ethically harvest that animal. So if the opportunity ever arises that I elk or moose hunt, I'm sure that this will be the gun that goes with me. But the price of those hunts has gotten a little prohibitive. The antelope hunt is still pretty affordable, relatively affordable. it's still kind of like, it hurts a little bit, but if it's something you're going to do once in your life, a chance to go out west and hunt big game, it's probably something I'm going to do once in my life. And I just thought it would be cool to go out and hunt antelope. Speed goats. That's what they call them. What do they get? Yeah, speed goats. They're fast. They run like 50, 60 miles an hour top speed. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. You don't shoot at them when they're running that fast. You can't lead them fast enough to hit them when they're cooking like that. So, building an AR-10, do your research. My constant advice: shoot your buddies' rifles. Decide which caliber you like, and then start ordering parts. Get yourself a checklist to make sure you're getting everything you need, and go from there. There are some subtleties, there are some nuances to gathering the parts and making sure you're getting all the right stuff. But again, like I said early on in the video here, this thing goes together exactly like an AR-15. Everything assembles just like you're putting together an AR-15. It's just on steroids. It's really all it is. Speed goats. There you go. That's right. Speed goats. So that's it. That's all I got for today. Um, Appreciate you all joining us. Next week, we're going to talk about optics. We're going to talk about scopes and different hunting optics that you're going to want for setting up your hunting rifle, whether it be here in Ohio where you're going to shoot 100 to 200 yards max, or if you're going to go out west. I'm probably going to end up buying a new scope for the 243. I'm going to need a new scope because there's an opportunity that I'll be shooting 300-400 yards. So I'm going to need a scope that allows me to see 300 or 400 yards. And most of the scopes I have one that 9 power could probably do it, but I'm probably going to go up to a 25 power so I can make sure that I can see real good when I'm out there hunting. My wife has to be listening when I talk when I talk about buying uh, new parts. Hey, nice thing is I get a discounted Vortex, so right, I can get a good Vortex for a nice price. So appreciate y'all joining us. Join us next week when we're talking about optics. And remember, you don't have to be an expert to build your own AR, to upgrade it or maintain it. We're here to help you do that. Thanks.